Jennifer Lopez's career is about to be over because of Diddy. Her freak-off video with Diddy is all over the place in Hollywood.
Elon, do you have any comments about P. Diddy and the allegations?
He was larger than life, but at first I didn't like him at all.
And it was just like this explosive, high fashion, cutting edge duo.
Jennifer is who told Puff to work with.
Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer was telling me, yo, he is
Dope, yo.
Hey Jennifer, do you have anything to say about the P. Diddy situation? Any comments on that, Jennifer?
Jennifer stands by her man and issues several statements to the press.
Are you gonna be Diddy's witness, Jennifer? You think he deserves to be in jail, Jennifer?
Caught up with Diddy. Do you have any advice for him to come on?
No, I mean, he knows what he's doing.
The charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that. Thank you very much.
What's up, you and Jennifer okay?
New photos from the night of one of Diddy's major lawsuits shine a whole new light on his relationship with then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez. We'll get into all this and more in leaked Diddy party photo of Jennifer Lopez will change everything. Diddy, as you likely know by now, has been accused of some pretty heinous things by multiple people, including some past partners. Many lawsuits have been filed against the disgraced rapper. The lawsuit alleged that Diddy and an unnamed additional male celebrity harmed her inappropriately, while another, also unnamed, female celebrity watched. The plaintiff's story in the lawsuit was, she attempted to sneak into Radio City Music Hall in 2000 for MTV's VMAs, but when she was unsuccessful, she ran into Diddy's driver. The driver told her to come back after the show, and when she did, he drove her to a large white house with a gated U-shaped driveway. The plaintiff further claims that upon entering the house, she was presented with a non-disclosure agreement and asked to sign. Once inside, she claims there was widespread use of substances, and when handed a beverage, they were in there too. In a bid to find somewhere safe to rest, the plaintiff claims that she entered an empty bedroom, and it wasn't long after she entered that the trio of celebrities allegedly followed. It was then that the multiple transgression happened, ultimately halting when the plaintiff struck Diddy in the neck. She was able to eventually escape the house and return home, but of course, the night left its mark. As reported by the Daily Mail, the lawsuit claims that the plaintiff fell into a deep depression which continues to affect every facet of her life. Diddy continues to assert his innocence. Back in October of this year, the Daily Mail obtained exclusive images of allegedly the very same after-party that this incident happened at, and the photos feature what appears to be a very angry J-Lo yelling at then-boyfriend and presently accused Sean Diddy Combs. The couple appears to be towards the wall of the room that is clearly still buzzing with party energy. Diddy appears to be dressed in what he wore to Radio City Music Hall that evening, a white shirt, baseball cap, and the new addition being what appears to be a bottle in his hand. In J-Lo's case, she had changed from her event outfit of the all-white ensemble with the bedazzled bandana to a colorful diamond and striped mini dress. As the party guests dance around the couple, the vibes could not be more different. Even directly beside J-Lo is who the Daily Mail has pointed out as her sister, Linda Lopez. She has a big smile on her face in some photos. It looks like she's continuing to dance the night away. In other photos, it's unclear if they became before or after the initial argument photo. J-Lo appears to be looking at Diddy in disdain or disappointment as he pours guests glasses from the bottle in his hand. In what the Daily Mail deems the next photo in the sequence, J-Lo is seen pushing away from the alleged confrontation and walking out of frame. As these are photos and not videos, there is no way of knowing exactly what was being said while the pictures were being taken unless one of the two stars steps forward. Though with the timing of the photos being obtained so close to the lawsuit being filed, it's made people look into the images a bit closer and wonder what the apparent argument could have been about. As of right now, J-Lo is not named in the lawsuit filed by the girl harmed at the allegedly same party. The lawsuit simply states Sean Diddy Combs and two unnamed celebrities were present. If it was this party, the house would be crawling with famous faces. This after-party event was co-hosted by Eminem and Dr. Dre. Some big-name guests that were included in the series of images the Daily Mail obtained from this night include music artist Jay-Z, magician David Blaine, model Carmen Cass, and rapper Ice-T, and more. To be clear, none of these people were named in the lawsuit either. They were simply present at the after-party. There have been instances in the past when Diddy has hosted star-studded bashes that turn into his bad parties after all the talent has left. The US Sun reported that Diddy's 2005 VMAs after-party went something like that. The event started as a party and was attended by big names like Eva Longoria and Paris Hilton, but the later half of the evening allegedly dissolved into one of Diddy's infamous freak-offs after the majority of the talent had left. The remaining party guests allegedly were moved from the nightclub to Diddy's mansion in the early morning, and this is where his inappropriate party happened. Footage from the later half of the party allegedly shows Diddy wearing the same outfit he had been wearing in the VMA after party pics. It's unclear if the incident at the 2000 MTV VMAs after party was a situation like that, or an isolated incident that happened during the party. Diddy is known for having an unsavory and violent past that is completely unrelated to the many lawsuits filed against him lately. Just under a year before the year 2000 after party, in December of 1999, Diddy and J-Lo were arrested after an altercation in a Manhattan club. Reported at the time was that in the club, Diddy, J-Lo, Diddy's bodyguard, and another music artist named Shine got in a disagreement that resulted in a fight. Diddy and J-Lo were not harmed inside the bar and fled the scene taking a car. Forbes reported that the couple were being chased by police, and the New York Post reported that the car ran a red light before being pulled over by the police. It was during this stop that things started to go south for the famous couple. Inside the car, police found a stolen weapon, the discovery prompting the stars being taken into custody. Present at the station where the couple was taken was retired NYPD detective Derek Parker. After the event, he spoke to the New York Post, giving them an exclusive look into what it was like in the room that night. He said there were all these high-profile lawyers barricaded in the station house waiting to talk to the desk officer, and further went on to recall that J-Lo was first handcuffed to a pole inside the station and then later held for about 14 hours in detention. Of course, like I'm assuming anyone who just experienced a club uproar and arrest like she did, the retired detective said that J-Lo appeared distressed. J-Lo ended up getting released and cleared of all charges first after that 14 hours. She later shared in an interview that she was scared to death in the car at the time. Though J-Lo was cleared of any charges, Diddy wasn't, so a trial had to take place that lasted a few weeks. In addition to the incident at the club, prosecutors also alleged that Diddy and his bodyguard tried to bribe the driver of the getaway car $50,000 in exchange for him telling the police the weapon was his. One of the victims of the incident did testify as a witness at the trial. During her testimony, she claimed that she saw Diddy pulling out the weapon with his right hand, and then very soon after feeling immense pain in her face that later turned out to be caused by the There is a tie-in to this situation and the current Diddy situation. One of the recent lawsuits filed against Diddy came from producer Rodney Little Rod Jones Jr. He filed a civil lawsuit for non-consensual relations and harassment, and in a shocking turn of events, it also seems to possibly reference this 1999 incident as well. The suit claimed that on the day Homeland Security raided Diddy's home, he displayed his and bragged about getting away with using these weapons against people. It went further, saying that Diddy also confirmed to those present that he was responsible for the New York incident with the other rapper Shine. Not only that, but that J-Lo was the one who carried the firearm into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual. Of course, you might notice that this would make J-Lo being in possession of the item and handing it to Diddy improbable if the original victim insisted she saw him pull it out. But it's not impossible. Could have happened before the altercation began. In the end, Diddy was acquitted along with his bodyguard. Though it is over 2 decades after the incident, the victim, Natanya Rubin, is still fighting for justice. She joined Elizabeth Vargas Reports for an interview earlier in the year in which she shared that she still has 9 fragments of the projectile in her face. A follow-up interview revealed that Rubin was nervous even years later about sharing her story. She also said in the interview that she wouldn't mind if the case was reopened, even going so far as to say that as long as it didn't cause any health complications, she would be willing to have a doctor remove a part of the 9mm projectile in her face to be used as evidence in court. Another interesting moment in the J-Lo Diddy relationship history is a rumor from the early 2000s that was addressed in a recent interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live. The rumor was that while Diddy was dating J-Lo in the late 90s, early 2000s, Will Smith and his wife had propositioned the Jenny from the Block singer with an invitation to join them in bed. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't too happy with that and threatened to attack Smith. Never one to shy away from anything, Kimmel straight up asked Diddy if this was true. Insert clip here. At first, the music artist made absolutely no movements, just kept his face in a very serious mask. Eventually, he did respond with, "You really heard that?" and laughed the whole thing off, claiming he didn't know what Kimmel was talking about. The talk show host played into the bit, making a remark about how one can't believe everything they hear on the internet.
Ben didn't want his love letters to Jennifer being made public in her new film, but insiders have claimed it wasn't because he had kept them a secret from his ex-wife. Because Jennifer Garner's fans were kind of outraged after Ben Affleck revealed that he clung on to his correspondence with J-Lo during his 13-year marriage, and then had those letters and emails bound into a book to gift to Jenny from the Block when they reunited in 2021. But insiders have quashed any notion that the admission shocked Garner. Apparently she was happy for Ben Affleck and J-Lo. She's friends with them, and she's also at peace in her current relationship. But Ben, on the other hand, would love for the outside world not to know about his love letters. Sure, he's a romantic, but you know, he's still a private kind of guy. He keeps his memories, whether it is from the movies he worked on or family, relationship moments. He always has what common folks call receipts. But then at the end of the day, nobody was surprised by JLo making things public because JLo wanted everybody to know about it. She was like, oh, this is our inspiration. Ben didn't know that she actually brought those into the studio until she told the world. According to several of JLo's former staff members, Jennifer earned herself the nickname Paylo because she paid her staff around 50% less than they could make elsewhere. And this rumor's been going on for years, so it's pretty much fact at this point. We're talking like 2003, which is like 20 plus years ago. JLo was spotted in Vegas with Ben Affleck when they were first dating. Right now we're in round 3, 2, depends on where you are on the timeline. The pair had a big win. Ben decided to drop $2,000 to the dealer, but before the dealer could actually take his well-earned reward, JLo snatched up the cash, swapped it for $200. Now, people are like, okay, does she have a reason for paying her staff so little? She's like, yeah, I had to work hard to make my money, so like everybody else should. And like, I'm sorry, that's just embarrassing. If you had to work hard to earn what you earned, you should want to try and make it easier for others because you know how hard it is. It's just a really entitled point of view and it's gross. Now, if you didn't know, earlier this year, JLo released her documentary on Prime. It's This Is Me Now, a love story. Gave you behind the scenes look into her album, This Is Me Now. If I'm sounding redundant, just you wait. The movie was called The Greatest Love Story Never Told. Until it was told, and now it's over. Sorry, my little ad lib there. Some fans who watched it took to social media to call her out for her lies. Because in one scene, she poses in the mirror of her personal gym because she's shaking out her hair. She's reminiscing about growing up in the Bronx. She's like, yeah, I like taking my hair like this. It reminds me like when I was 16 in the Bronx, running up and down the block. Crazy little girl who used to be effing wild, no limits, all dreams. But then come in TikTok user, photos by Angela, who's like, I went to the same Catholic high school as JLo, and JLo is lying. She said, and I quote, we both attended an all-girls high school in an Irish and Italian neighborhood, so you weren't running up and down the block. Now, JLo's been long accused of some, fibbing and whatnot. One big fib, apparently she doesn't actually sing on her albums. Singer Natasha Ramos took to TikTok to shed light on that rumor. So Natasha has a voice pretty similar to JLo's and was allegedly hired to sing the demo of Jenny from the Block. And the production team liked her voice so much that they asked her to record 5 more songs for an album, which, oh boy. Natasha received $3,500 in a backup singer's credit. But as she claims, and as the original demo demonstrates, yeah, it's her voice in the final track. And not only in the choruses, it's her laugh, it's her yelling from the Bronx. JLo, I think, only really sings in the verse. Speaking of stealing, JLo's notorious for stealing from other artists. Like, she caught her big break back in 1997 when she starred as the late Latin pop icon Selena in the biography of the same name. And after that film, JLo ventured into music. Her demo was picked up by music exec Tommy Mottola and Sony Music, and she dropped her debut album in summer of 1999. And one big hit from that album was If You Had My Love. You know it, you love it, we've all heard it. Well, that song got some backlash from R&B singer Shantae Moore because Moore had a near identical song called If I Gave Love that she recorded a year prior in 1998. Both these songs were written and produced by Rodney Jerkins. It's been said that JLo's then boyfriend, whose name I probably shouldn't say on here, pressured Jerkins to write a near identical song. And JLo's stealing habits only got worse as time went on. This wasn't like a one and done. So using background vocals is not uncommon in the music industry. But the issue with JLo is that she's passed those off as her own. Songs like Play and the I'm Real remix feature prominent reference track vocals from Christina Milian, Ashanti. JLo and Ja Rule's music video for I'm in Real remix, JLo used Ashanti's reference track vocals in the song and passed them off as her own. Yeah, instead of JLo re-recording the song, which is kind of what's normal in the industry, she left the demo vocals on the song and failed to credit anybody else. If I was to list everybody she's like stolen from over the years or attempted to steal from, we'd be here all day. But let's look at some notable names. Usher, Mariah Carey, Brandy Norwood. I could go on and on. Oh, and by the way, JLo's also been accused of lip syncing a lot during live performances. In 2021, fans flooded social media during her American Music Awards performance because they were very disappointed that her vocals did not match the studio version of her song On My Way. And then 2014, she was performing on American Idol, and folks were like, no, you're lip syncing I Love Ya Poppy. We all saw it, we all know it. Not the right move. So in 2002, JLo starred in the romantic comedy Made in Manhattan. And she went all over the world promoting this, and when she landed in London, people were talking. They weren't talking about the movie though, they were talking about her demands. Because, well, she was there and, you know, hanging out, she had a very interesting encounter with hotel staff. She was staying at the Metropolitan Hotel, and this is where the early signs of J-Lo being a career diva began to show. The hotel staff was astounded by her extravagant demands, because apparently it was reaching levels they'd never seen before. She was like, I need thousands of pounds of lemon-scented candles. And also, if I'm even gonna go like a block around the corner, I need a limo. Literally, she had 7 limousines escort her to lunch at a place that was only 200 yards away. So maybe you think, well, Alexa, maybe she grew out of that. 2012 reports surfaced that Jenny from the block demanded that staff working for her make no eye contact or even speak with her. While having work done on her San Fernando Valley home, she demanded that none of the helpers, drivers, or contractors have any interactions with her. And reportedly, when flying first class, she doesn't like anybody to bother her. Not even a flight attendant. And like, that's their job. They bother you for safety, if you need a snack. Like one time a flight attendant offered her a drink, and she was like, She said instead to her assistant, please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke and lime. Sure, this rumor hasn't really been confirmed, but like, come on, who does that? J-Lo had her former co-star Ryan Guzman fake his relationship status to hype up their movie almost 10 years ago. And we found this out from his ex-girlfriend who was with him at the time. So Melanie Iglesias called out J-Lo on the No Chaser podcast for how Jen acted during the 2015 The Boy Next Door press run. Because apparently J-Lo was holding hands with Ryan at after parties and acting like they were an item. But she knew fully well he had like an actual girlfriend. The model says she even met J-Lo at an award show while she was dating Ryan, claiming she gave her an awkwardly firm handshake and an intimidating once-over, something Melanie says she was disappointed over, seeing as like at the time she viewed J-Lo as a hero. And Melanie also pointed that when Ellen DeGeneres directly asked J-Lo on the show, doesn't he have a girlfriend? J-Lo played dumb. She's like, I don't know. Girl, you knew. J-Lo faced a lot of backlash after revealing she was unhappy about sharing the stage with fellow artist Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl. The duo took the stage by storm at the iconic annual halftime show, with their history-making performance attracting a lot of praise from fans and celebrities worldwide. But turns out, despite the actual success of the performance, J-Lo wasn't really happy with the NFL's decision to have her and Shakira take the stage together. She admitted in her Netflix documentary that we know way too much about, that she thought it was the worst idea in the world. Shortly after those comments hit online, fans were like, okay, what's up with this entitled attitude? Arguing that regardless of time constraints, it was iconic. And it's like, girl, you went out, you did your thing.
Elon Musk has now inserted himself into the Diddy drama by calling out Jennifer Lopez for not warning us about Diddy and all the horrible things he's done. Elon, though, is one to talk. Now, Musk was speaking on the Joe Rogan Experience when he began talking about J-Lo's criticism of the recently elected president and his remarks about Puerto Ricans. Elon then brought up J-Lo's personal history with Diddy as she dated him from 1999 to 2001. He said J-Lo was like his ex-girlfriend, and now all of a sudden she's warning people about Trump. How many people did she warn about Diddy? Oh, 0. Maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion. He then added people in the music entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was doing those things. Where's the accountability? They had to know. Again, this is somewhat hilarious coming from Elon considering all the horrible things he's done, but he's not the only celeb who's questioned J-Lo's involvement with the Diddy case. Ojani Noah, her ex-husband, claimed that she was involved in Diddy's freak-offs that came in his federal indictment. I'm not on the list, he wrote on Instagram. To those people and media outlets asking if I ever went or participated in that piece of Diddy's freak-off parties, no and no. But my ex-wife, Jennifer Lopez, aka J-Lo, did. Ask her. Then Suge Knight believes that J-Lo and Ben Affleck's marriage fell apart because Homeland Security informed him that she was on the tapes that they found. It's a white man who got respect in the white world, Knight said on his podcast Collect Calls. I'm quite sure they said, we want to show you some things about your wife, and I'm quite sure they headed for divorce because that's a man who had a good life. Great parents don't spend a lot of money. Ain't tripping off paparazzi, he's living his life. He got his own team. She done brought all that extra out, and now that mother effer he want out. Now, J-Lo hasn't addressed the Diddy situation and will probably remain quiet on it. She was seen out recently and was interacting with fans when a paparazzi said, J-Lo, do you have any comments about P. Diddy and the allegations? Now, immediately Jennifer stopped taking photos and giving autographs and sped off with her team away from fans. Do you have any comments about P. Diddy and the allegations?
Well, back up, look, don't lean. Jennifer, you're fine, don't lean. You're nice, you're fine.
Now others called after her, telling the superstar don't leave, but despite the pleas, she headed away through a door, away from everyone. Now it's important to note that J-Lo has not been formally linked or accused to Diddy and his crimes. Just last week, one of J-Lo's past assistants has come forward and addressed her involvement. Thea D'Souza, who worked with J-Lo on the 2002 film Made in Manhattan, posted a statement on Threads recently that said, "If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you were close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy. She barely drinks, she's not a partier, she isn't a good time girl, she is a workaholic who uplifts women and who was charmed by him for a brief time in her life." She then emphasized that J-Lo does not deserve to be conflated with Diddy's shocking and criminal misdeeds. Now, it does make sense though that people would question Jen's involvement, as she has been arrested with Diddy in the past. Yep, you heard that right. In 1999, Diddy was arrested following an incident that happened at a nightclub in New York. That night, Diddy was with his bodyguard, Anthony Wolf, rapper Jamal Shane Barrows, and Jennifer Lopez, who he was dating at the time. As reported by Forbes, the incident started with a disagreement and ended with 3 different people becoming injured. After the incident, Diddy, J-Lo, and Jamal left the scene, but then the 3 were involved in a police car chase. Now, it's even been rumored that J-Lo threw evidence out of the car during this case. According to the Washington Post, police found a stolen weapon in the car, and both Diddy and J-Lo were arrested and initially charged with criminal possession of stolen property. Now, the charges against J-Lo were dropped overnight, but Diddy and Jamal went to trial. Jennifer spent 14 hours in a police station as the result of her incident. Now, she later described it as an unfortunate situation, adding, "We were somewhere we shouldn't have been. It was a bad situation, and any bad situation that involves celebrities, people run with." Diddy faced additional charges of bribery, as he had allegedly offered the driver of the car $50,000 to say the weapon was his. Diddy was acquitted of the charges, and Jamal was charged with 5 offenses. Now, he served 10 years for his charges, according to the New York Times. But nobody was ever charged and found guilty of the actual incident. One woman who was a victim of the incident claims that Diddy injured her, which Diddy has denied. Natania Rubin filed a $130 million lawsuit for compensation against Diddy in 2008, which was then settled out of court in June 2011. Now, J-Lo has rarely spoken about the incident, but in the year 2000, she did address it in an interview with British Elle. She said, "It was a complete nightmare. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. No one did." Now, J-Lo was in a little bit more trouble when they were arrested, because up until that point she said she was born in 1970, but she was actually born in 1969. Now, it's just very strange to me because her age only changed 1 year. It seems like such an insignificant detail to me, and I don't know why she would change it, and it seems like no one really knows why. But multiple theories think it might have had to do with her schooling. Others say she did it to appear younger in Hollywood, but again, it's only 1 year. If she said she was 5 years younger than she really was, I'd believe that theory, but only 1 year doesn't really make any sense. But recently now, one of Diddy's accusers, Rodney Jones, who filed a lawsuit against the star, claimed that Diddy was responsible for the incident in the nightclub in New York and alleged that Diddy bragged about using J-Lo to smuggle the weapon into the club. He shared that artist and Diddy's girlfriend at the time, J-Lo, carried the weapon into the club for him and passed it to him after he got into an altercation with another individual, he alleged in the lawsuit. Now, all I can say is yikes. Diddy has denied the accusations, but again, J-Lo has remained silent. Is there more to the story than J-Lo is letting on? Regardless, I think she needs to clear her name, whether she puts out a statement herself or through a representative, because all of this is not a good look at all. Now, Diddy was arrested in September for running a crime ring for over a decade. While in jail, he's been faced with multiple lawsuits, and he's getting more and more every day, it appears. In October, Tony Busby, a Texas-based attorney, announced he was representing more than 120 men and women against Diddy. The criminal complaint states that Diddy held freak-offs where he distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Now, Diddy's attorneys have repeatedly denied the allegations. Mr. Combs and his legal team have full confidence in the facts, their legal defenses, and the integrity of the judicial process, his attorney said in a statement to CNN. In court, the truth will prevail. When you have a consistent line of victims alleging the same or similar claims, it just gives a lot more credibility to the allegations, said Trey Lovell, a Los Angeles-based entertainment attorney. Now, Nancy Erica Smith, an attorney in New Jersey, said, "The evidence, I think, is overwhelming," adding that the lawsuits are helping to change the culture. "I think that women are going to be less likely to tolerate it and fearful to speak out, and other women are going to come forward." Yeah, it just does not look good for Diddy, and with this though, it has people questioning whether those close to him knew about the crimes or even participated in them. That's why JLo's name has been dragged through the mud. It appears that we'll only learn more during Diddy's trial, which is set for May 5th, 2025. But one of JLo's past assistants has come forward and addressed JLo's involvement in Diddy's crime ring. And let me tell you, it's not what you think at all. Thea D'Souza, who worked with JLo on the 2002 film Made in Manhattan, posted a statement on Threads recently that said, "If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you were close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy. She barely drinks, she's not a partier, she isn't a good time girl, she's a workaholic who uplifts women and who was charmed by him for a brief time in her life." Now, she emphasized that JLo does not deserve to be conflated with Diddy's shocking and criminal misdeeds. So, Thea claims that JLo is innocent in all of this, which is a great thing, and it's honestly good to see someone having JLo's back at a time like this. They've been digging up photos of JLo at parties and have been speculating a lot. Now, besides proof that JLo had been to some of his white parties, as she was his girlfriend, there's been zero proof that she had anything to do with the crimes Diddy committed, nor that she even knew about them. While her ex-assistant has stood up for her, JLo, for her part though, has stayed silent. And she probably will be for the time being, as she doesn't really address rumors or drama. It's obviously a sensitive subject and is something that the star doesn't want to discuss. So if you meet JLo, I'd suggest not asking her about Diddy. Besides, if she has something to say, she will say it eventually. It's a very sticky situation that she's in, and nobody is entitled to her opinion on the whole situation. Now, since breaking up with Diddy, JLo has claimed that he was unfaithful during their relationship. Now, maybe this is why she won't talk about him. She could still be hurt by all of this. Now, throughout their relationship and after their breakup, JLo was aware of rumors that Diddy was cheating on her. When the pair first met, Diddy essentially love-bombed her. He gave her a ton of attention and told her that he loved her almost immediately. JLo said this made her uncomfortable at first, but then she fell for him. As their relationship wore on though, the feelings of doubt crept back in. "It was the first time I was with someone who wasn't faithful," she told Vibe magazine after the breakup. "I was in this relationship with Puff where I was totally crying, crazy, and going nuts. It really took my whole life in a tailspin." Now, she grew increasingly concerned about his fidelity, saying, "I never caught him, but I just knew," she said of his cheating. He said he was going to the club for a couple of hours and then he'd never come back that night. Now, Diddy himself has admitted that he was often unfaithful in relationships. In a 2015 appearance on The Breakfast Club, he said his partners would often be frustrated with his behavior. Now, JLo later admitted they broke up and got back together far more than the public knew, which honestly isn't healthy at all. But in 2001, the couple ended things for good. It was scary, and we broke up many times before that and got back together and broke up again, and nobody knew about it. Now, it seems like JLo is more stressed out about everything regarding this relationship than participating in Diddy's extracurricular activities. Yes, she attended some of his parties, but that was only when they were dating, and she didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. I mean, when JLo was asked about Diddy in 2022 when she was on the Wendy Williams show, things got, well, awkward. Wendy asked if she and Diddy would ever get back together, and JLo laughed and shook her head as the camera panned to her mother sitting in the audience. Now, JLo's mother looked furious as she shouted no while waving her hand back and forth. Now, reposting the clip on Twitter, one fan wrote, "Some of y'all didn't catch JLo's mom's reaction when Wendy Williams said this." Yeah, I feel like this says a lot about their relationship. Clearly there was something going on and she didn't want to be associated with him anymore. And the fact that JLo's mom doesn't like Diddy, that speaks volumes. Recently, some shocking information was revealed from someone who attended Diddy's exclusive parties. On November 1st, former model Rachel Kennedy appeared on Daily Mail's The Trial of Diddy podcast to share her experience. Now, during her appearance, Rachel revealed that when she met Diddy in the year 2000, Diddy allegedly played J-Lo's music videos on a continuous loop in his hotel room while he was reportedly on the phone with the singer. It was kind of an odd thing to find out that we were watching J-Lo's video, she said, describing it as it's a little bit creepy and very disrespectful. Yeah, I'd have to agree with Rachel on that. Rachel, along with two friends, was invited to Diddy's hotel room for a party after meeting him at Seventh Heaven, a topless club in Japan. She shared that it quickly became clear that this was not the type of party they had expected. Rachel recounted that she and her friends initially found Diddy friendly and decided to stay, even after noticing some wild behavior around them. We went in, we didn't think anything strange, he was friendly enough, so we decided, okay, we'll just hang out with him, she said. Now things took a turn though, and it's now believed that this was actually one of Diddy's freak-offs. Rachel went on to say when she and her friends were with Diddy, suddenly one of his bodyguards barged into the room and he looked so violent and angry. He then ejected the women from the room, which came off as a shock to them. She said, "We just couldn't believe what was happening. First of all, how does he have that much access to Puff Daddy's room? That's the first thing I thought. How does he just come in like that?" Looking back at the strange experience, she alleged that the Bad Boy Records founder teaches them the behavior as he's their boss. She added, "He is the puppet master of all of this, and this is why people think it's okay, because he's teaching them that this kind of behavior is acceptable. He's like a cult leader and these people are his disciples," she said. Now this makes sense, as it's been released that Diddy had plenty of rules his employees had to follow when it came to finding him women. A former party planner who worked with Diddy during 2004 and 2005, who wished to remain anonymous, stated that women attending these parties were subjected to weight checks. "We would do a weigh-in if necessary. The girls had to be young and hot, so I always had a scale nearby in case I needed to make sure. The number was 140 pounds, but if a girl was really tall, there was a little bit of discretion involved," said the planner, adding that other requirements included no flab, no cellulite, no overly pierced or tattooed, and no short hair. Now the dress code reportedly demanded women wear short dresses, with high stilettos being a non-negotiable. No pants, no jeans, no flat shoes. Every girl had to wear a party dress, preferably very short, just enough to cover her butt cheeks but no longer than mid-thigh, cleavage showing. And every single one of them had to be wearing stilettos. That one, there was no exception, high stilettos. The New York Post quoted the planner as saying. Now it seems like we won't find out more from J-Lo regarding this whole situation unless she's called on to testify in court. But with everything that's been released about Diddy, J-Lo is the least of our problems.
J-Lo, who has famously declared, "Don't be fooled by the rocks that I got, I'm still Jenny from the block," has weathered tales of her alleged snobbery for years. In just one instance reported by the Daily Star, when contractors were hired for a job that could take up to a year on J-Lo's old house, those contractors were reportedly informed that they were not to communicate directly with the international star. A source told the tabloids that she has made it clear that if any of the contractors, drivers, or domestic help make eye contact or speak to her, she will not be impressed. J-Lo's supposed superficial superstar antics apparently extend to service workers who just aren't directly in her employ, but who have the unfortunate one-time experience of being snubbed by her. A source said she doesn't speak to salespeople, she doesn't speak to restaurant people, she doesn't speak to hotel staff, flight attendants, she only talks through her assistants. A United Airlines flight attendant backed up this claim, sharing a similar experience with the singer. "I just said, 'What can I get you to drink?' But Jennifer refused to even acknowledge them." They added that she turned her head away and told her personal assistant, "Please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke and lime." She wouldn't even look at me. Now, according to the sources I found, Jennifer has an extreme thing about people looking at her, other than when she's on stage. Then everybody's gotta look at her. Otherwise, if small, unimportant people look at her and, God forbid, open their little unimportant mouths to speak to her holiness, she does whatever she can to retaliate. If they're servers or anyone she can get fired, she gets them fired. In 2013, J-Lo's morals came into question when it was reported that she earned in the neighborhood of $10 million performing for shady dictators, at least according to news outlets. Also, apparently, the Human Rights Foundation and a lot of folks were very critical of J-Lo's decision to put on a private performance in Turkmenistan for the president at the time, whose government allegedly restricted free speech and imprisoned those who spoke against the nation's alleged corruption. J-Lo's then publicist Mark Young issued a response, however, and the statement made J-Lo's team appear really ill-informed. They said this was not a government-sponsored event or political in nature. The event was vetted by her reps. Had there been knowledge of human rights issues of any kind, Jennifer would not have attended. Well, that statement probably didn't go over well, considering how Human Rights Watch's Rachel Denber, Deputy Director for Europe and Central Asia Division, explained that J-Lo's team didn't have to dig deep for information that would have revealed the controversy surrounding the whole presidential leadership corruption stuff. It was something even J-Lo herself could have discovered. Denber literally said, just do a few Google clicks, look up the human rights record, it's right there, it's easy to find. Well, 2 months after the backlash, Young was fired from J-Lo's team. With the whole fiasco going boom in everybody's face, was it possible Young eventually took the fall for what appeared to be some blame shifting after the fact? I think so. Forbes credits makeup artist Scott Barnes with creating the signature technique that became Lopez's iconic glow, which in turn became the preferred look of the era in the early 2000s. The makeup artist has worked with J-Lo since the year 2000, whether it was serving as J-Lo's personal makeup artist for her role in 2019's Hustlers, or for the Super Bowl performance, or whatever it may be. And while their working relationship and friendship spans 2 decades, there was a time when Barnes apparently didn't have her love. Barnes spilled the beans during an interview on the Jeff Probst show after rumors circulated that Barnes and 2 others leaked plans of J-Lo and Anthony's secret marriage. J-Lo's team shunned him. He said, "Nobody would talk to me. It was like I had some sort of disease." When the truth came out that Barnes did not leak the news or even know about the wedding ahead of time, he received a phone call, presumably from J-Lo, whom Barnes claimed said the following: "It was like, hey, it was a big misunderstanding. You know, we have a lot of stuff coming up and I really miss you, so let's just get back to work." And although Barnes was extremely diplomatic in his recounting of the temporary fallout, it's clear that he never received a direct apology, or even a real apology. What's even more interesting is that considering Barnes and Lopez quickly reconciled, he chose not to keep this story about her in-house. So I guess he's the one person she didn't have sign an NDA? Hakkab Manoukian began chauffeuring J-Lo and her then husband Mark Anthony around in 2005 before eventually being promoted to Lopez's staff full-time as her personal head of security and transportation in early 2011, at least according to TMZ. By September of that year, Manoukian was gone from J-Lo's staff, after which he filed a lawsuit for breach of contract and wrongful termination against J-Lo, her company, New Yorkin Productions, and manager Benny Medina. Manoukian claimed his agreement with J-Lo included a $72,000 yearly salary with additional production pay, potentially increasing his compensation to $200,000 per year. But according to tabloids, however, he claimed that he received no production pay or overtime whatsoever. CNN further reported that Manoukian's suit claimed that he dealt with intolerable labor conditions, such as working more than 40 hours a week and being prevented from taking proper meal periods, which forced him to resign. J-Lo filed a countersuit seeking a minimum of $20 million in damages, claiming the former driver was allegedly blackmailing her for $2.8 million as he threatened to expose private information he overheard when chauffeuring her. So the countersuit alleged that he became hostile and angry after J-Lo rejected his desire to lead and appoint members to organize a security team for a music video production. J-Lo's countersuit was dismissed in December of 2012, and the singer ended up settling the original lawsuit for undisclosed terms in February of 2013. Wish we knew the terms though. Gilly Ayer was a longtime assistant for J-Lo until 2013 when she reportedly left without informing J-Lo she'd been looking elsewhere for work. Quiet quitting. According to sources, Gilly went to work for Jermaine Dupri a week after he joined Mariah Carey's management team. Now, J-Lo and Mariah Carey have been publicly painted as rivals for quite some time, so Gilly jumping ship to Lopez's big nemesis camp seemed to sting a lot. We're talking like butter on a burn a lot. Reports surfaced that J-Lo's then boyfriend Casper Smart allegedly ruffled feathers with a lot of J-Lo's staff. Casper always insisted that all of Jennifer's staff call him Mr. Smart, and even demanded that Gilly get him drinks. At least that's what a source told online sources. So with Jenny from the block allegedly doing nothing to set him straight, that may have been the breaking point as to why Gilly left. Gilly had enough. She was over it. She'd been looking to leave for some time, and as soon as Mariah hired Jermaine, she quit. JLo was stunned. Now, Gilly may not have publicly trashed JLo, but is there anything colder than a personal assistant leaving a celeb staff on short notice to go work for their rival? So, how bad did this hurt the former Fly Girl? Well, it's unclear, but in 2015, Page Six revealed that JLo reportedly had a no Mariah clause in her contract with her manager Benny Medina, barring him from managing Mariah Carey at the same time as her. So, oop. According to at least several of JLo's former staff members, she's earned herself the nickname Paylo because she paid her staff a lot less than they can make elsewhere. We're talking like half of what they can make elsewhere. Now, this rumor's been going around for years. We're talking like back in 2003, when Jennifer was first with Ben Affleck. They were out in Vegas, they were having a good time, they had a big win, and Ben was feeling generous. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna tip the dealer $2,000. But before the dealer could actually claim the reward, JLo was like, no, you get $200. So, why does JLo pay her staff so little? She's like, well, you know what? I had to work hard to get my money, so you have to work hard to get yours. Which, like, I'm sorry, that's embarrassing. If you had to work so hard to earn your money, wouldn't you want to make it easier for others because you know how hard it is? Come on, queen. An ex-private airport employee called JLo a nightmare person on Twitter before dishing out several stories about negative interactions with the superstar. Twitter user @MoiraWebb claimed she worked at a private airport on Long Island when JLo was in her relationship with Mark Anthony. They said, I have so many stories about her being a rude and nasty person. It's gross to say, but each time she fails at anything, it delights me. So, okay, that's like really intense hating. Surely JLo couldn't be that bad, right? Wrong. Come on, you've been here long enough today. So Webb told 5 stories about brutal interactions with JLo, and these range. We're talking like some were just kind of bizarre, some of them were just plain mean. But it definitely seems like, if you haven't figured it out already, JLo doesn't care about people if you're not her. The first story, she's got this standing catering order, even if she's only going like 20 minutes away, and that order needs to have a KFC bucket. So she was flying out in the morning before KFC opened, and her team freaked out that they didn't have the bucket. So this employee was demanded to go get some, was given some cash. They drove like a bat out of hell and begged KFC to open early, make one for her. They were excited it was JLo, they made one. But this worker actually didn't have enough cash. They had to give her a senior citizens discount to cover it. And as they're speeding back, they look up, the flight's taking off. Even though they're like, no, we can't leave without it. So they're like, why did I even have to do that?
We all know that Jennifer Lopez used to date Diddy, but now her ex-husband is claiming that JLo attended Diddy's parties and actually knew what was going on. Ohani Noah, JLo's first husband, took to social media to distance himself from any connection to Diddy's freak-off parties, but claimed that JLo was one of multiple celebrities present at them. While we do know that JLo has been to Diddy parties, as there's photographic evidence, there has been nothing official put out about her involvement in freak-offs. Now, in a post on Instagram, Noah shared a list of stars who have allegedly attended Diddy's parties, one being JLo. I'm not on the list, he captioned the post. To those people and media outlets asking if I ever went or participated in that piece of Diddy's freak-off parties, no and no. Never. But my ex-wife, Jennifer Lopez, aka JLo, did. Ask her. Noah, who married JLo in February 1997, before the couple divorced less than a year later, blames their split on Diddy's working relationship with JLo. Now, that relationship was created during the making of JLo's debut album On the Six, and it later became romantic, with Diddy and JLo dating between 1999 and 2001 before calling it quits. She went from Jen to being JLo, this big business bringing in millions, Noah once told Daily Mail of the shift of their relationship. She had all these new people around her, all wanting to make money off of her. I would call and an assistant would say, sorry, she's not available. Now, this isn't the first time her ex-husband has called her out. Despite the fact that they were only married for 9 months, Noah has been trying to slander his former flame to keep his name in the news by any means possible. In 2006, he set out to publish a tell-all book dubbed The Unknown Truth, a passionate portrait of a serial thriller, which Jennifer stopped with a lawsuit, claiming that her ex was breaking their confidentiality agreement. She was then awarded $545,000 in damages, and Noah was slapped with a court order which forbade him from criticizing, casting in a negative light, or otherwise disparaging Jennifer. Then just 3 years later, he made headlines again when he threatened to release videos taped during the pair's honeymoon, showing the pop star in a revealing lack of clothing and in certain situations, especially in the hotel room. And this caused her to file a $10 million lawsuit against him. Meanwhile, during a 2016 appearance on Million Dollar Matchmaker, he dumped blame on his former wife, saying that she caused their split, and claimed, "I was looking forward to being with her for the rest of my life. It didn't happen. She made the choice of her career instead of me." Now, after Jennifer tied the knot with Ben Affleck in July 2022, Noah publicly spoke out about her marriage. "I wish her and Ben the best, but I'm not convinced it will last," he told the Daily Mail that month. "Jen loves being in love, but she's been engaged 6 times. Ben is husband number 4. I was husband number 1, and she told me I was the love of her life." Now, it seems like in the end that he was right. Other stars have also called out J-Lo for her ties to Diddy as well. Elon Musk was speaking on the Joe Rogan Experience when he began talking about J-Lo's criticism of the recently elected president and his remarks about Puerto Ricans. He said J-Lo was like his ex-girlfriend, and now all of a sudden she's warning people about Trump. How many people did she warn about Diddy? Oh, 0. Maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion, he said. He added, "People in the music industry had to know that Diddy was doing all those things. Where's the accountability? They had to know." Suge Knight also believes that J-Lo's and Ben's marriage fell apart because Homeland Security informed him that she was on the tapes that they found at Diddy's. "It's a white man who got respect in the white world," Knight said on his podcast Collect Calls. "I'm quite sure they said, we want to show you some things about your wife. I'm quite sure they headed for divorce because that's a man who had a good life. Great parents, don't spend a lot of money, ain't tripping off paparazzi, he's living his life. He got his own team, she done brought all that extra out, and now that mother effer he want out." Now, on the other hand though, Thea DeSouza, who worked with J-Lo on the 2002 film Made in Manhattan, posted a statement on Threads recently that defended the star and said that she had no involvement with any of this. "If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you're close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy. She barely drinks, she's not a partier, she isn't a good time girl, she's a workaholic who uplifts women and who was charmed by him for a brief time in her life." Now, she emphasized that J-Lo does not deserve to be conflated with Diddy's shocking and criminal misdeeds. Now, J-Lo was recently spotted out in public interacting with fans when a paparazzi asked her, "J-Lo, do you have any comments about P. Diddy and the allegations?" Now, immediately J-Lo stopped taking photos and giving autographs and left. Many people begged her not to leave, but she didn't listen. She wanted nothing to do with answering that question or being associated with Diddy. Now, with Diddy's recent arrest, people have been speculating on his time with J-Lo. An anonymous source said he was very controlling, he would constantly put her in uncomfortable situations, this is a good girl from the Bronx who never got into trouble or was wild. The source also said he never hurt J-Lo, but she had her longtime manager, Benny Medina, to protect her. Benny would have ended Puffy's life if he laid a finger on J-Lo. But still, Puffy was controlling and demanding. Now, there's been a conflicting report though, as another source who knew the couple at the time said he definitely manhandled her, but it's a little low to bring all this up now, it's kicking a man when he's down. Then there was the nightclub situation. In 1999, Diddy was arrested following an incident that happened at a nightclub in New York. That night, Diddy was with his bodyguard Anthony Wolf, rapper Jamal Barrows, and Jennifer. As reported by Forbes, the incident started with a disagreement and ended with 3 different people becoming injured. After the incident, Diddy, J-Lo, and Jamal left the scene, but the 3 were involved in a police car chase. It was then reported that J-Lo threw evidence out of the car. According to the Washington Post, police found a stolen weapon in the car, and both Diddy and J-Lo were arrested and initially charged with criminal possession of stolen property. The charges against J-Lo were dropped overnight, but Diddy and Jamal went to trial. Diddy faced additional charges of bribery as he had allegedly offered the driver of the car $50,000 to say the weapon was his. Diddy was acquitted of all charges, and Jamal was charged with 5 offenses, but nobody was ever charged and found guilty of the actual incident. But recently, one of Diddy's accusers, Rodney Jones, who filed a lawsuit against the star, claimed that Diddy was responsible for the incident in the nightclub in New York and alleged that Diddy bragged about using J-Lo to smuggle the weapon into the club. He shared that the artist and his girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, carried the weapon into the club for him, passed it to him after he got into an altercation with another individual, Jones is alleged in the lawsuit. All I can say about this is yikes. Now, Diddy has denied the accusations, but again, J-Lo has remained silent. night. Is there more to this story that J-Lo is letting on? And if she could lie about that, then has she really been involved with the crimes happening at Diddy's parties? There's so much speculation right now, but it seems like we won't get an answer about it unless J-Lo is called on to testify at Diddy's trial, which is currently set for May 5th, 2025.
Jennifer Lopez and Diddy were arrested together, but not for the reason you think. With all the recent controversy Diddy has caused, any name ever attached to him is being scrutinized under a microscope, or their past is being dragged back up and picked apart. And that is exactly what is happening with J-Lo. This hasn't been an easy year for the performer. Long-held speculation that she was getting a divorce from husband Ben Affleck turned out to be true, and now people are once again bringing up her arrest alongside former partner Diddy that happened in the 90s. This unlikely couple might not have dated very long, but they certainly kept celebrity gossip publications busy. But no incident with the two was quite as famous as their night out clubbing right around Christmas of 1999. While partying the night away in Club New York in Manhattan on December 27th, 1999, things quickly took a violent turn. Reported at the time was that in the club, Diddy, J-Lo, Diddy's bodyguard, and another music artist named Shine got in a disagreement that resulted in a fight, eventually escalating to people getting out weapons and firing them, injuring 3. Diddy and J-Lo were not harmed inside the bar and fled the scene taking a car. Forbes reports that the couple were being chased by police, and the New York Post reported that the car ran a red light before being pulled over by the police. It was during this stop that things started going south for the famous couple. Inside the car, police found a stolen weapon, the discovery prompting the stars being taken into custody. Obviously, arresting 2 of the biggest names in music at the time was going to cause a stir, and sure enough, all anyone could talk about was this. Present at the station where the couple was taken was retired NYPD detective Derek Parker. After the event, he spoke to the New York Post, giving them an exclusive look into what it was like in the room that night. He said there were all these high-profile lawyers barricaded in the station house waiting to talk to the desk officer, and further went on to recall that J-Lo was first handcuffed to a pole inside the station and then later held for about 14 hours in detention. Of course, like I'm assuming anyone who just experienced a club uproar and arrest like she did, the retired detective said J-Lo appeared distressed. Thankfully for her, she was released after the 14 hours and cleared of all charges. The Jenny from the Block singer didn't often personally speak on the ordeal. However, she did make one comment about the situation in an interview with Elle, saying it was a complete nightmare from beginning to end, and that she was scared to death in the car and had absolutely no idea what was going on. No one did. Though J-Lo was of course present at the scene, how involved she was is still up in the air. Earlier this year, new details came to light when Rodney Lil Rod Jones Jr. filed a civil lawsuit for non-consensual relations and harassment, but it also seemed to potentially reference this 1999 incident as well. It claimed that on the day Homeland Security raided Diddy's home, he displayed his and bragged about getting away with using these weapons against people. It went further, saying that Diddy also confirmed to those present that he was responsible for the New York incident with the other rapper Shine. Not only that, but that J-Lo was the one who carried the firearm into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual. One of the victims of the incident, Natanya Rubin, has been outspoken from the start about the events that took place that night. Since the beginning, she has been very clear with her recount of the evening and adamant that Diddy is responsible for the projectile that hit her face. Though J-Lo was cleared of any charges, Diddy wasn't at first, so a trial had to take place that lasted a few weeks. In addition to the incident at the club, prosecutors also alleged that Diddy and his bodyguard tried to bribe the driver of the getaway car $50,000 in exchange for him telling the police the weapon was his. Rubin did testify as one of the witnesses at the trial. During her testimony, she claimed that she saw Diddy pulling out the weapon with his right hand and then very soon after feeling immense pain in her face that later turned out to be caused by the firearm. Of course, you might notice that this would make J-Lo being in possession of the item and handing it to Diddy improbable, but if Rubin insisted she saw him pull it out, but it's not impossible as it could have happened before the altercation began. In the end, Diddy was acquitted along with his bodyguard. The individual that did not get cleared of all charges was Shine. The young rapper was convicted of assault in harming 2 bystanders and sentenced to 10 years in prison. In the end, he only served about 9. Since his release, Shine has taken a very different career approach. In 2009, the man was deported to his home country where his father was actually prime minister. Leaving his rap career behind, he decided to follow in his father's footsteps and got into politics as well. Successfully, I might add. He was voted into the country's House of Representatives in 2020. Though it is over 2 decades after the incident, Natanya Rubin is still fighting for justice. She joined Elizabeth Vargas Reports for an interview earlier in the year in which she shared that she still has 9 fragments of the projectile in her face. She shared further details about the rough night, that at the time and throughout the trial, one of the most important things to her was simply getting back home to her family. A follow-up interview revealed that Rubin was nervous even years later about sharing her story, even going so far as to ask for a deep investigation to be conducted in the event that she does go missing. This was happening right around when everything first hit the fan with all that Diddy stuff, so her fear is not unexpected. She also said in the interview that she wouldn't mind if the case was reopened, even going so far as to say that as long as it didn't cause any health complications, she would be willing to have a doctor remove a part of the 9mm projectile in her face to be used as evidence in court. After learning about what Rodney Little Rod Jones Jr. had seen that night, that J-Lo was the one that brought the item in, Rubin seemed more and more on board with reopening the case. She said, "I couldn't bring in a comb. I would absolutely, unequivocally like the case reopened. It needs to be reopened." Diddy has already had a rough year with the legal system after his alleged misdeeds have come to light. New allegations against the music star continue to pop up, and some are quite bizarre, like how he had 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Combs' lawyer insists he doesn't know where exactly that large number came from, and explained the amount away by saying the man simply buys in bulk, referencing the chain store Costco, claiming that people walk out of there with items bought in large quantities all the time. But Costco was not about to let themselves get roped into this situation and actually came out with a statement that they don't sell baby oil in any US location. It's not yet clear if the December 1999 incident will be re-examined in court as some of the victims wish. The only trial confirmed for the music artist now is the one on May 5th of next year. A gag order has been suggested for it. It would prevent attorneys or prosecutors from discussing anything further about the trial with the media. But what do you think? Let us know.
It's not unusual to go for a bit of an image change after a split, but Jennifer Lopez is taking her ex-husband Ben Affleck's recent glow-up personally, and it's totally valid once you know why. The Batman star has been spotted out and about with a noticeably darker hair and beard situation, prompting fans to suspect he has dyed his grays following his recent breakup from Jen. Ben has also been looking noticeably buffer and, smarter these past couple of months, but the actor's makeover has reportedly got his pop star ex feeling offended, with sources saying she is infuriated that he has only started looking after himself now that she isn't around to reap the benefits. Now, there's an insider that did say that Ben is suddenly going out of his way to pamper himself, look his absolute best. He's dyeing his hair, he's getting manicures and pedicures, he's getting waxed from head to toe, he's even getting hair plugs, and seeing a dermatologist for skin treatments to turn back the clock. And as you can imagine, J-Lo is seeing red because these are all the things she wanted him to do when they were together, and he refused. Look folks, for a while it seemed like Ben and her were a Hollywood fairy tale. They began dating back in 2002, got engaged that year in a whirlwind romance, and then dramatically called off their first wedding just 4 days before she was set to walk down the aisle, but then reconnected in May of 2021, then got married for 2 years before J-Lo filed for divorce in August, but 7 months before the official split, Ben had already moved out of their Beverly Hills mansion, where they had lived with their blended family. So let's see if I can remember all these family members. J-Lo's got twins. She shares them with ex-husband Mark Anthony. Ben's got 3 descendants who he co-parents with Jennifer Garner. So Ben's new look isn't just a trip to the salon. Apparently he's also overhauling his lifestyle now that Jen's out of the picture. Once again, this new routine comes after years, the last 2, of Jen begging him to take better care of himself, feeling a little wounded. Apparently, according to sources, even his diet is cleaner. He's cut out a ton of the junk. It feels like a total slap in the face to J-Lo because it's sending the message that she wasn't worth making these changes for. But now that he's single and looking to impress new women, he's willing to step it up and stop being such a slob. But don't worry, Ben. We'll never forget the iconic Duncan photos. Now, despite the divorce not being technically finalized, Ben's already been linked to other women and was recently spotted with JFK's great niece, Kit Kennedy. Granted, apparently Ben's new look is not a snub at his ex. He's just embracing the idea of being a hot dad. He's insisting this had nothing to do with J-Lo. He's just getting back to his old self after spending so long being micromanaged in his relationship. He grew tired of trying to impress her and live up to her standards. Now he's taking advantage of the freedom to do what he wants. But the irony is that now that she's not telling him what to do, he's realizing she was right. So at this stage in his life, Ben wants to look and feel his best, especially since he's single again, looking to get back on the dating scene. And J-Lo's watching all of this unfold with a mixture of frustration and disbelief, because it bothers her to see him, making all these improvements, knowing that someone else will eventually benefit from the effort she helped inspire. Her inner circle is telling her, he's just a middle-aged fool who didn't deserve her. But she's feeling kind of let down. It's a bitter pill to swallow. I don't blame you. Now, how is J-Lo handling things? Well, she's trying to cheer herself up with some good old retail therapy, blowing a fortune on everything in sight. Apparently, she's been warned by her financial team that her spending habits are getting a little crazy. At one point, she was spending $100,000 a day on designer clothes. Look, folks, after you break up with somebody, some folks really jump into the dating scene, some folks really go hard in the gym, but J-Lo's like, I'm gonna do retail therapy. And same girl. Bath & Body Works hates to see me coming. You can't blame her. This whole divorce, this whole relationship has been nothing but rumor mill fuel for the last 2 years. But I don't know if blowing your entire fortune on yourself and your entourage is the way to go about it. Yeah. Did I mention she's been beefing up her entourage? So then her spending has gone all the way up because when she goes anywhere, they all go with her, and obviously she's gonna pay for them to be around her. According to sources, she's throwing around money like she's a billionaire, but she's not. She's treating herself to these outrageous shopping sprees, and she calls it retail therapy, which I get it. And she does say she needs it, but maybe the bills are a bit outrageous. If you look at $100,000 a day on designer clothes, I don't know. I think that's a lot. The way she's hemorrhaging money right now is apparently madness, according to sources, but she says it makes her happy, so it's worth it. Look, I think she's worth $400 million, but if your financial team is worried about your spending habits, that's kind of what they're there for. Look, let's break this down. Number one, she's got this divorce to settle, which could cost her as much as $50 million. She's got to buy a new home. She's got to get rid of her old one, which is kind of hers, kind of his. So obviously her financial team is kind of hey girl, maybe scale back on the spending. It was recently reported that she is eyeing this lavish estate in Holmby Hills, currently priced at $55 million. Obviously she's trying to get the cost down. I think she described $39 million as reasonable, but it's still a 14-bedroom mansion with gardens, a greenhouse, a guest house, and an infinity pool. So her financial team's hey, if you want to stay where you are in life and afford this nice big house, you might want to stop spending so much on clothes. There was another source that was hey, by the way, the divorce, it might get messy because Ben and J-Lo didn't sign a prenup, which folks, you're rich, you have this money. Now you're gonna have to divide your community property. Apparently, J-Lo's net worth is approximately 4 times that of Ben's. And according to sources, once again, it's become very clear that there's no getting out of paying Ben half of what J-Lo made during their marriage, which obviously not sitting well with her. And rightfully so, she's probably going to put up a nasty fight if this divorce takes a nasty turn. She does have enough money to drag this out, as long as she stops spending like she is, and I feel according to sources that I've read, she'd rather give the money to lawyers than to Ben, so she's given her team the go-ahead to stall as much as they can, no matter what it costs her in fees. Now, for his part, Ben is trying to play down the money aspect of it, but there's no doubt it does represent a pretty decent payday, and he's justifying taking it by saying he deserves every dime just for putting up with her and all her drama. I guess it could also help cover his new daddy makeover. Now, I do know the two have spent some time together following the divorce. I know they're trying to work together on their issues for the sake of, the whole blended family situation. The whole family obviously got very close during the relationship. According to sources, there is still a great deal of love there. The couple came together back in September to attend a back-to-school night back last month. They were also seen at a family outing in Beverly Hills. They're obviously trying to iron things out. They're trying to take the divorce amicably because I believe they also have some vested business interests and, once again, that joint property situation they gotta get rid of. So it's not like they can just be okay, I never want to see you again. Well, I guess they could, but it would be a lot more complicated that way when you consider all the financials. Look, they just want everything to be ironed out. They want the least amount of drama possible, and I don't blame them. Granted, they did have one public fight, I believe in Beverly Hills. J-Lo apparently said, and I quote, she will never forgive Ben Affleck after that public tiff had her in tears. There was a report in Marca that claimed that the couple was spotted in Beverly Hills and they were sharing some tense moments, heated words, however you want to put it, wasn't pretty, wasn't very happy blended family. Now, pictures did show the couple on an outing. I believe the whole blended family was there, and they showed a very emotional J-Lo wiping away a tear while Ben just kind of stood nearby. In Touch magazine did quote a source close to J-Lo saying that Jennifer didn't want to make a scene in front of the rest of the family, but she has made it clear that she'll never forgive Ben for being such a cold-hearted jerk and giving up on their marriage. Look, obviously the actors wanted to keep things civil during their ongoing divorce, but it seems like the cracks have begun to emerge as the proceedings get underway.